We begin with the two gentlemen around whom this fight card is built. First fighter to the scale, the number 3 ranked featherweight contender, taking part in his first UFC title fight, Diego Lopes. 145, the official weight for Diego Lopes. And his opponent is the future UFC Hall of Famer and the former undisputed UFC featherweight champion of the world, Alexander Volkanovski. 145, the official weight for Alexander Volkanovski. All right, next fighter to weigh in this morning, one half of the lightweight co-main event live on pay-per-view, the number 12 ranked contender, Paddy the Batty Pimblett. 156, the official weight for Paddy Pimblett. Next fighter to the stage is his decorated opponent, competing in that lightweight division, the number 7 ranked contender, Michael Chandler. 156, the official weight for Michael Chandler. All right, next fighter to weigh in this morning, competing in a prelim live on ESPN Plus in the middleweight division, Cedriquis Dumas. 185, the official weight for the Reaper, Pensacola's Cedriquis Dumas. All right, next fighter to the scale, competing in a featherweight prelim and taking part in his 30th UFC appearance, Darren the Damage Elkins. 145 for Darren Elkins. All right, next man up, competing in a prelim in the lightweight division, Chase Hooper. 156, the official weight for Chase Hooper. All right, next fighter to the scale, making his second UFC appearance in the flyweight division, Mitch Raposo. 126, the official weight for Mitch Raposo. All right, next athlete to the scale is the number 3 ranked strawweight contender, Vina Kakara Janjidoba. 116, the official weight for the strawweight contender, Vina Janjidoba. And next up is her opponent, the number 1 ranked strawweight contender, former world title challenger, Yan Xiaonan. 116, the official weight for Yan Xiaonan. All right, next fighter up in the middleweight division, Marco Tulio. 186, the official weight for Marco Tulio. All right, next fighter to the scale, one half of the featured prelim in the featherweight division, perennial contender number 15 in the world, Dan 50K Ige. 146, the official weight for Dan Ige. All right, next fighter to the scale, competing in a prelim in the middleweight division, Michal Oleksiejczuk. 186, the official weight for Hussar, Michal Oleksiejczuk. All right, next gentleman to the scale, competing live on pay-per-view on this moving night in the featherweight division, the 13th ranked contender, Bryce Thug Nasty Mitchell. 146, the official weight for Bryce Mitchell. All right, next fighter to the scale, making his much-anticipated UFC debut in the featherweight division, the legend Patricio Pitbull. 145, the official weight for Patricio Pitbull. All right, next fighter to weigh in this morning in the women's bantamweight division, all hail Haley Cowan. 136, the official weight for Haley Cowan. All right, next fighter to the scale, the other half of the featured prelim in the featherweight division, live on ESPN, Sean the Sniper Woodson. 146, the official weight for Sean Woodson. All right, next fighter to the scale, competing live on pay-per-view, the number 5 ranked featherweight contender and the former UFC interim featherweight champion, Yair Rodriguez. 146, the official weight for El Pantera, Yair Rodriguez. All right, next fighter to the scale, competing in a prelim in the flyweight division, Sumu Darji. 126, the official weight for Sumu Darji. All right, next fighter to weigh in this morning, charged with kicking off the main card live on pay-per-view, top 8 ranked light heavyweight contender, Nikita Krylov. 206, the official weight for Nikita Krylov. All right, next fighter to the scale, competing in a prelim in the middleweight division, Tresean Gore. 186, the official weight for Tresean Gore. All right, next fighter to the scale, competing in a prelim live on ESPN, Julian Erosa. 146, the official weight for Juicy J, Julian Erosa. All right, next fighter to the scale, a man who needs no introduction, the winningest fighter in UFC history, Jim Miller. 156, the official weight for the lightweight legend, Jim A10 Miller. All right, next fighter to the scale. He'll kick off the main card live on pay-per-view, former light heavyweight title challenger and the number 11 ranked contender, the Devastator, Dominic Reyes. 206, the official weight for Dominic Reyes. All right, next fighter to the scale, competing in a prelim live on ESPN Plus in the women's bantamweight division, 13th ranked, Nora Cornell. 138, the official weight for Nora Cornell. That is 2 pounds over the women's bantamweight limit. All right, our final fighter to weigh in this morning, competing on the pay-per-view main card, the oncoming force in the featherweight division, Jean Lord Silva. 147 for Jean Silva. That is 1 pound over the non-title limit for the featherweight division.